Okay, for the second part of the video series to complete this Excel for week 9, hopefully you've got the same spreadsheet open. We just completed the invoice, and now we're going to move into our other competencies. So if you've saved the file with your last name and it's assignment 09.1, you want to make sure you have that open, and you want to click and activate the bonus worksheet. So we're going to take a look at a few other competencies with this worksheet here. So what we've got going here is a list of sales reps and their sales for the months of January, February, and March. So I just want to familiarize you with the spreadsheet. If you take a look at this quarter 1 column, you can see that it is summing each of the sales reps' sales for the first quarter. So if you take a look, I go down, you can see that there's a sum function adding the total sales for each of the sales reps there. Okay, we're going to start with a review of our if function. So in the bonus, what we're going to do is we're going to calculate whether each of the sales reps earn a bonus or not. So we're going to start by selecting cell G8. Now we're going to use the insert function to use the if function, but here is the logical test. Each of the sales reps will earn a bonus as long as what they sold in quarter 1, so in other words for Smith here, as long as what they sold in quarter 1, E8, is greater than what their quota was. So the logical test is cell E8 greater than cell F8. Hopefully that makes sense to you. That's the first argument. Okay, the second argument is if they did sell more than what their quota was, they will earn a 10% bonus on what they sold in quarter 1. So the second argument is, if it's true, we want to take E8 for Smith and multiply it by 10%. If it's false, they don't earn a bonus at all, so we want to see 0 going into the cell. So let's create it. We're going to go up to the insert function. Once again, you want to select the category logical, or you can search for if. We're going to choose the if function, choose OK. Now once again, the logical test is cell E8 greater than cell F8. Again, is what they sold greater than their goal or their quota. So I'm going to type in is E8 greater than cell F8. Okay, right now for this sales rep, Excel already knows that it's false. By the way, you can use the point and click method as well. I just type the cell references in there. So if it's true, we're going to take what they sold. So for Smith, it would be cell E8, and we're going to multiply it times 0.1, which is a 10%. A 10% bonus. Now, if it's not true, if it's false, if they did not sell, they get 0. So we want to see a number. We're going to enter the number in this in the false value 0. You can see right now for Smith, Excel already knows that it's going to be 0. So we'll choose OK, and we'll take the little fill handle in the lower right corner and we'll copy it down to all of the other sales reps. So you can see here, some of the sales reps earned bonuses, some did not. Okay, now this company, where we're going with this, has got to pay payroll taxes on bonuses for each of the sales reps. So what we need to do in this little table down here, and again, we're not at this point worried about formatting at all, we're going to enter what the federal tax rate is. So we're going to click on cell B18, and we're going to format a number by just entering the format we want. The federal tax rate is 25. We're going to enter 25 with the percentage symbol. By entering it that way, it's the same as 0.25. So it's a 25% federal tax. State tax is 5%. So once again, we're going to format these numbers as we type. We're going to type in 5 with a percentage point or percentage symbol in there, enter. For Social Security, it is 6.2%. Again, we're going to manually type in that percent symbol. And notice how it added the 6.20. We'll fix all the number formatting in just a second. And then finally, Medicare is 1.45. And once again, we will manually type in that percentage symbol in there. So we've entered our tax percentages in that particular table below the lower in the spreadsheet. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to calculate what the federal tax is on each of the bonuses for column G. Now, obviously, Smith and Stevens didn't earn a bonus, so when you multiply a number by 0, it's going to be 0. So we're not going to pay any federal, state, or Social Security or anything because they didn't earn anything. So we're going to set up a formula. We're going to click on that cell, H8, and what we're going to do is take the federal tax rate times their bonus. So it's going to be a simple multiplication formula. We're going to start with an equals, and we're going to take the bonus amount, which is right next door in column G. So we're going to take G8, and we're going to multiply it by the rate you see in cell B18. So I'm going to go down. You can either type B18. I'm going to click on B18. But here's one thing that you're going to want to make sure of is cell B18 needs to be an absolute cell reference, because as we copy it down to the other sales reps, we don't want B18 to change to B19 and so forth. We don't want it to be relative. So once again, if you remember from last week, the shortcut is hitting your F4 key on your keyboard, and it pops those dollar symbols that anchor the column and the row reference there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit enter. And, obviously Smith isn't going to pay federal tax because Smith did not earn federal tax. But once again, taking a close look at relative reference, we're going to click on that formula. We'll drag it down using the fill handle to the other sales reps. And you can see the ones that earn the bonuses. If you take a look, that B18 once again is absolute cell reference. So it's calculating by the rate you see in cell B18. Okay, we're going to include the formulas all the way across. So for state, we're going to type in again another multiplication formula, equals. Once again, the bonus amount in G8, we're going to multiply it by the state tax rate, which is found in cell B19. Again, that needs to be an absolute cell reference. When we copy it down, we don't want that to change. So I'm going to click on my F4 button, and we've got the absolute cell reference. Okay, what I'm going to do is enter Social Security for Smith as well, equals, once again, the bonus amount in cell G8 times Social Security rate, which is found in cell B20. Once again, that has to be absolute, so I'm going to type in hit the F4 key, enter that. And then finally, the last tax would be Medicare. Once again, equals times the bonus. The bonus in cell G8 times Medicare rate. And again, that needs to be absolute as well. And I hit the wrong key, so I'm going to try that over. Okay, cell B21, and I'm going to hit the F4 key. My finger slipped, and then I'm going to hit enter. Okay, a very easy way to copy all those down at once is I can actually drag across to select all these formulas, grab the fill handle, and I can copy those down all at once. So we're seeing that there. Okay, we're going to add another column in cell L7. And what we're going to do is we are going to type in the total for taxes that we have to pay. So we'll type in the column heading tax total, enter that. And we're going to add up the federal, the state, the Social Security, Medicare, and so forth. So you can either use a sum function or a formula. It makes sense to use a sum function because we're adding a range of cells going to the left. So I'm going to type in, or you can actually use auto sum, or you can type in equal sum. You should be comfortable with that by now, auto sum. But notice how it's guessing wrong. We don't want quota, we don't want bonus. So I'm going to take my mouse and I'm going to highlight the cells I want to include in the sum function. So in this case, it's H8, I8, J8, and K8. And I'm going to enter that there. And once again, I'm going to copy that all the way down. And I can see total taxes there. And then the final column we're going to add in cell M7 is net bonus. Now this is going to be a simple subtraction formula. So again, formulas begin with equals. We're going to take what the bonus is, which with Smith it's cell G8, and we're going to subtract it by the tax total to get the net. And again, that's going to be relative. We want those cell references to change as we copy it down. So no great surprise, Smith did not earn anything, but as we bring that down, we are going to see those net totals there. Okay. Now we're going to shift our attention to formatting. We're going to format text. We're going to format numbers to give it a consistent look. Oh, before we do that though, I see we've got totals and averages, so that we're taking a look at that averages here. So if you take a look at the total row, which is row 14, under January, we want to see total January sales. So we'll go up to auto sum, we'll total that, okay? And then also we want to include averages. Once again, as a refresher, I'm going to go up to auto sum. I'm going to use that list. I'm going to choose the drop down arrow. I'm going to grab average, but we don't want the total in the average. You see, it's wrong. So once again, we'll highlight, in this case, B8 all the way down through B13, and we'll enter that there. So what we'll do is we'll select both the total and the averages, and what we'll do is we will copy that all the way across. So we've got totals and averages going across there. Now we'll shift our focus into formatting. Okay, we'll take a look first of all at our title and our subtitle. So we're going to merge and center. We're going to select from cell A1 all the way across to M1. Okay, notice all the individual little cells selected there. We're going to go up to our alignment group in our home ribbon, choose merge and center, and all those cells became one big cell, and we've centered the title there. We're going to do the same with the subtotal, so go ahead. This time it would be A2 through M2. We're going to select merge and center. We're going to go up. We're going to select cell A1, and we want that to make that title stand out just a little bit more. We're going to change the size. So right now you can see it's a 10-point font. We will change that size. We'll live preview it. We'll go with about a 24-point font. Okay. The other thing we can do is in the style group, we can click on styles, and let's go with a title style. Okay. Oh, notice how that changed the size to an 18. So what we will do is we will bring it back to a 24-point font. We will select cell A2, and we will also go with cell styles, and we will go with a title style, but we will make this a little bit smaller. So we'll go from an 18 down to a 14-point font. Well, we will change, let's go with changing the font color, and then we're going to change the background of the cell, and we're going to apply a border. We can do those both at once by selecting both cells, the title and the subtitle. And let's go with a dark background with a light font. Again, if you don't select exactly the same colors as I have, I'm fine with that. I just want to see that you've made those changes. So we'll first start with the background, and we're going to go into the fill color. We'll choose the drop down arrow, and you can pick any dark color you want. I am going to go with kind of like a darker shade of brown. And then if you go dark, you want to go with a light. So I'm going to go with a light color font. I'll maybe go with a yellow font. So you see if I deselect, it stands out very nicely. Okay, I'm going to select those titles, and we're going to put a dark border all the way around both those cells together. So you want to make sure you select A1 and A2. The border button in the font group, we're going to choose that, and we're going to apply a thick box border around that. But before we do that, we want to change the color or the line color. So on the bottom of the dialog box, you see the line color. I'm actually going to go with the yellow that matches the text. So you can see I'm going to come back and I'm going to go with a thick box border. Now when I deselect, you can see that yellow around that, which looks pretty nice. Okay. The next thing that we're going to do is we are going to select all of the column labels. And we don't want to make the spreadsheet a whole lot wider. In some instances, we'll have to do that. But one thing that you can do is with the column titles, we're going to center a line. But what we're also going to do is we're going to rotate that. Notice like Social Security in cell J7, you see how it's kind of cutting some of that off. Instead of making the column wider, what we're going to do is we're going to rotate the column headings. Now, the way to do that is in your home ribbon, in your alignment group, you've got this button right here with a little AB on it. When you point to it, it's orientation. We're going to click on that. You can play around with orientation. Personally, I like angle counterclockwise, and you see how it changes your headings. So longer headings, you can read it without widening the columns, which a lot of times works nice. So when you print it, you're not cutting off columns. So that works out really well for column headings. We might want to apply the heading 3 styles to the columns to make it look nice. And you may even want to, so notice the heading 3 style also places a border on it. You may even want to highlight the background just a little bit, not the text, I'm sorry. The background color to any kind of a color you want, but you can see that. Okay, we're going to also select the row headings. We will select all of them from A8 through A15. And we will go up to cell styles and we will select heading 4 styles, but let's italicize those. And then let's apply the same shading to those cells that we did our column headings there. So we'll select that there. Very good. It's coming along. Okay, we will want to change the row height for totals. We kind of want to create a little separation there. So in order to do that, we're going to position our mouse between rows 14 and 15, get the two-sided arrow. And you see the row height, you can see that number 15.75. Let's drag that down and let's make it about 20.25. So it creates a little bit of a separation. I'm even thinking a little bit more. Let's go to 24 or as close to 24 as you can. So there's a little bit of a separation there. We will select in our total row from cell B14 all the way across to cell M14. We will go up to the cell styles and apply the total row style. It changed our number slightly to an 11-point font, but we'll fix that a little bit later. One way, if you want to change, we want to change the size of our numbers so they are just a little bit smaller. Let's select all the numbers from cell B8 through cell M13. Now I'm going to select a non-adjacent range, so I'm going to hold the control key and I'm going to select B15 all the way across through M15, and we're going to just change the size from a 12 to an 11 so they all kind of match. They're all kind of the same size. Okay, we'll worry about our tax table in just a second. Okay, for the total rows, we're going to select the total row. And you know by now the most appropriate number formatting for totals would be the accounting style. So we'll click on the accounting style. Once again, you see the American dollar symbol, you see commas, and you see 2-digit decimals. Okay, we're going to select all the other numbers from cell B8 all the way across through cell M13. And we're going to apply the comma style to those. Okay. And we are going to select our averages and we will apply the comma style to those numbers as well. We might even want our total row style to jump out just a little bit more so we see our total. So you could highlight the total row and apply the same cell shading that you had that you've used in some of those other cells. The next thing we're gonna shift our attention to is adjusting the width of column A. But before we do that, let's select our tax table. Select that, and let's change the size from a 12-point font to an 11-point font. Now we will auto adjust column A so that we're able to see the tax labels there. So if you position your mouse between columns A and B, you'll see the two-sided black arrow. We'll double click on that, and then it widens out that column nicely. Our numbers are already formatted because we did that earlier. Now, like what we did with our title and subtitle, we'll format our tax table so it resembles that. So we'll select from cell A18 through cell B21, which is our tax table. Okay, once again, you can go to the fill. We're going to go with a dark background. You can select the same dark background as before. And if you're going to have a dark background, you're going to want to contrast it with a light shade. I think I used yellow. Again, you can pick whatever color you want. I'll give you credit for that. So you can see our formatting is coming alive. One thing I'm a little bit concerned about with this spreadsheet is when we applied the total row style and you take a look at the numbers there, you can see that the font is adopting the theme of the spreadsheet, which is Calibri size 11. All the other numbers are Arial size 11. Okay, so what I'm going to do, and what I think you should do, is we're going to select all the numbers in the top row all the way across. And we're going to change the numbers so that they're all consistent. So we're going to go to our font, we're going to select Calibri and size 11, and you can see how it changed all the numbers there. Now, you learned about this last week, but I want to reinforce the Format Painter in your home ribbon. So the Format Painter will copy the formatting from one cell, we'll select this cell, and you can apply it to multiple other cells. So you select the cell that contains the formatting. We have number formatting. Look at the difference between the two cells there. So we'll select this cell right here. And if you click on the Format Painter once, you can click on a cell once and it changes it, but it deactivates itself. We've got all these other cells in this range that we want to change. So once again, we'll go back to cell B8, which is the cell that contains the number and the text formatting we want. And when you double click on the Format Painter, it'll keep it active. So I can drag it across all the numbers in this row, and I can start here, and we don't want the total row, but I can drag it across and I can automatically change those, and I can go down to averages, and I can do it right down here. Now the Format Painter, if you look at the screen, stays activated until you either go up and click on it again, or you can hit your escape key. But you see now we have nice consistency in the formatting of those numbers. Before we move on, we also want to change the format of the percentages that we manually typed in because of the inconsistency in decimals. So we will highlight B18 through B21, and we'll go up to the number group in our home ribbon, and we will increase the decimal so that they all have a 2-digit decimal on it. The last thing that we have to do is to create our chart. Now might be a good moment for you to pause the video, stand up, stretch, take a break. We're just about finished. Okay, hopefully you stood, you stretched, you took a break. Now we're ready to create our chart. Okay, we're going to create a chart using non-adjacent data. So what we want to do is we want to select the names of each of our sales reps. So we're going to start with cell A8, and we're going to select down to cell A13. And then we're going to hold the control key on our keyboard. We're going to keep that held down, and we're going to select column E, which is their total sales. So we're going to go from E8 all the way down to E13. Okay, once you have those two blocks of cells selected, you can let go of the control key. So be careful not to click. The name should be highlighted and the total Q1 number should be highlighted. Okay, what we do from here to insert a chart, we learned this in week 1 of Excel. We're going to click on the Insert tab. That'll display the Insert ribbon. And we want to take a look at starting with maybe a basic boring line chart. Yeah, we'll go with a basic boring line chart. Not to worry, we're going to change it. But if you point, what you can do is you can click on any one of these. You'll see live preview. We're going to go with, you could go with a 3-dimensional line chart. We'll go into the 2-dimensional line chart with markers, and we're going to click on that. Okay, once again, you can see it embeds the chart in the same worksheet that you're working on. Okay, we do not want the chart in our bonus worksheet. So what we're going to do is we're going to change the worksheet. We're going to go up to the contextual ribbons. Notice there's 2 of them, the design contextual ribbon as well as the format. We're going to go to the design, and in the very last location group, we're going to choose to move. We'll move it into a new worksheet, and we will call it total sales by rep, and then click, and it inserts a new chart, total sales by rep. It's kind of a boring chart. It's a boring line chart. We're going to click to add the title. We'll select that placeholder. We'll type in our title, total sales by rep, and then hit enter, and that placeholder will change. Okay, we'll talk about the smart tags in just a second, but we're looking at this and we're thinking, we're not really happy with this chart. This is a really basic boring line chart, but certainly you can tell that Norris has got the highest sales. So what we'll do is we'll go to change chart type, and we might want to take a look at a column chart. You have clustered column, you've got stack column. Stack actually accumulates. You've got 3-dimensional clusters, you've got 3-dimensional stacks. Let's go with 3-dimensional cluster and choose OK. So you can see the scales and you can see the categories. We might want to change the color. So again, we're going to use the design contextual ribbon. We're going to click on change colors. You can point, kind of play around with colors a little bit. Pick a different set of colors. Okay, you can also format each of the columns individually. So if you want a different column for your sales reps, you can do that. You could also add data labels as well. For example, let's click on Smith. Now, when you click on the brown column, you click on it once, it selects all. Let's click on brown again, and you can see you just have that one selected. You can go into the format ribbon, and you can change the shape fill. So I'm going to change that one to purple. I'm going to click on Wallace, and again, you can kind of tell the dots, the sizing dots around it. That's the only one that's selected. So I'm going to change the fill here, and I might go with a green. And I'm going to click here, change the shape fill. I might go with a darker shade. Click here. Again, you don't have to select the same colors as I've selected. And then I might go with an orange. Okay. So the other thing we're going to do is we are going to add a title for our value axis, which contains our scale, and also for our category axis. So if you go up to the first chart element smart tag and click on that, you see how you can add an axis title. So you can actually click to add, and you see it adds an axis title. So with this one selected, let's just type in total sales for quarter 1. And we'll click down here and we'll type in sales reps. And we've added that there. And make this more meaningful, this can kind of be a little bit difficult to read. We might want to add data labels to that. probably on the outside end, you can control where you add the data labels. So once again, I want to go up to the Smart Tag, Chart Elements, and we want to add data labels. So we'll click on that, and you can see the data labels are added. Now, you can actually go to data labels whenever you see these arrows. It's additional information. You see you can make them as callouts, or you can go into more options. It opens up the task pane. Yeah, we want to see values. That's good. There's not really anything that we want to change there, so we can close that. With the data labels selected, though, I might want to go to my home ribbon and bold those. You can also individually drag them up just a little bit so that they're maybe a little bit easier to read. And then we'll click away from that. One last thing with regard to the charts, I'm going to click on that. You can actually go down and you can click on the filter button. Now this is kind of neat because it makes your chart interactive. So for example, if you click on the filter button, you could say, I want to take a look at just Smith and Wallace. Apply, and you see how it filters, it makes your chart interactive. Maybe I want to see Smith, Wallace, and Jones. Okay, apply, and you see that. Okay, once again, I can go up and I can select all. I'm sorry, down here, select all, apply, and it selects all. The other thing I might want to do is I might want to change the background. So again, you can go to the design ribbon, and if you take a look, there are designs that will allow you to change the background, but because we individually formatted the bars, we can click on the background of the chart. You want to make sure nothing's selected, click anywhere in the background. And when you go into Shape Fill, you can go into and change, again, the background, the shape color. You can actually even add a gradient pattern. So you can go dark to light, light to dark, make it interesting. You can insert pictures there. We'll click to deselect. I might want to make my title bold so that it jumps out a little bit more. You might even want to change the font color again. You want to be careful not to have dark on dark, so if I wanted this dark color, I might select this and I might want to change the font color to something that jumps out like yellow. You can play around with those, but you can see you can do that with your labels as well. You click on one, they're all selected, so it's not as bad as it seems. I missed this label too. Now for the last couple of details, and then we'll wrap up this week's lesson. When you inserted or you moved your chart, it inserted the new worksheet to the left of the bonus chart. The first thing we want to do is we want to rearrange those worksheets. So I want total sales by rep chart to the right of the bonus chart. So I'm going to activate that worksheet tab. I'm going to press and hold my mouse down. Notice the little down arrow that points. I'm going to drag it over to the right-hand side so I see a down arrow after bonus, and I'm going to let go of it. So I've rearranged the chart. I want my spreadsheet before my chart. So that's the first thing that we're going to do. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to add conditional formatting. Conditional formatting is a little bit different than absolute formatting. We talked about it earlier, but we're going to take a look at the bonuses, and we are going to apply conditional formatting to all bonuses that are greater than $8,000. We want to highlight that. So we're going to select the range of data that we want to apply conditional formatting to. In this case, it's from cell G8 through cell G13. We're going to highlight. Conditional formatting is found in the styles group, so we're going to choose conditional formatting, and we're going to highlight cell rules that match certain conditions. So highlight cell rules. We're going to take a look at any cells greater than, so we'll choose greater than, and the value is $8,000. So we want to highlight anybody greater than $8,000. By default, it's going to highlight with red fill and dark text. You can see a live preview there. I always like to, modify it slightly. There are other choices there, but you can go down to custom format. I'm in a custom format and I'm gonna highlight, I'm gonna change the font color, so I'm gonna make sure the font tab is selected. And the font color, I will go with a dark green because they had a great bonus. So dark green, and I'm gonna make it bold. And then I'm gonna change the fill color to the bright yellow, or you can use the fill color that you've been using. Again, you don't have to match mine exactly. And then we're gonna choose okay, and then okay. So you can see anybody that matches that criteria, we're gonna see the conditional formatting there, those cells pop out. Finally, we want to get this ready to print, the spreadsheet right here. So with the bonus worksheet selected, if we go to File and we click on Print, it takes us to a backstage view. Now, when you look at yours, mine's already been formatted, but you're going to notice you're cutting off, you're going to be cutting off and you're printing landscape. So what you want to do is if you go under Settings, we're going to change our orientation. I'm sure yours, if you haven't changed, says Portrait. So you want to switch it from portrait orientation to a landscape orientation. And even with landscape, if you look at your screen, you still might not, you might have columns cut off. So we're going to scale this spreadsheet. So we're going to go down to scaling. It probably says no scaling. And we're going to change it so that the scaling fits on one sheet. Once you choose that, you're going to see the spreadsheet fits on one sheet. Again, in this class, I won't make you print, but now you've gotten it ready to print. Of course, with all this color, if you're going to print to a LaserJet printer, it's not going to print in color, so you want to be careful with that. Even though my colors pop, when I look at it in color, you see this is hard to read. So you got to really seriously consider where you're printing before you decide to use color. So I'm going to hit back, and we're ready to go there. So that takes us to the end of week 9. Certainly, if you have any questions, feel free to get in touch with me. I'd be more than happy to help you. And once you're finished with this, save it, and you can upload it to assignment 09.1. And then you will have a summative assessment. So you'll have 09.2, where you will be working on a project on your own. So good luck, and let me know if there's anything that I can do to serve you.